Here's your news for December 12, 2019. We're starting off with some huge news from AEW today, as the company has seen yet another personality appear who fans wouldn't expect. On a recent episode of AEW Dark, Taz stopped by to provide commentary, and before this week's episode of AEW Dynamite in Garland, Texas, it was Vickie Guerrero's turn to don the headset. The former Raw and SmackDown general manager isn't under contract with WWE, but we haven't heard anything about her signing with AEW either, meaning this is probably just a one-off appearance. With that said, this appearance could become a more regular thing if AEW likes her work, as her shrieks of "excuse me" could become more common on AEW Dynamite. Speaking of the new promotion, it's been clear over the past several months that WWE doesn't want their superstars going to AEW, but that hasn't stopped stars like Jon Moxley and Shawn Spears from making an impact. With Luke Harper, Sin Cara, and The Ascension all being released this week, it looks like the trend of WWE stars joining AEW isn't over yet, though this works both ways. While speaking to Chris Van Vliet, AEW's Santana and Ortiz revealed that WWE were looking to sign the duo, and this interest level raised significantly only after AEW showed up. In the interview, the duo confirmed that there was a substantial offer made by the McMahon-led promotion, but Santana and Ortiz feared they would get lost in the shuffle as so many tag teams have done. This was clearly the right choice for Santana and Ortiz, who have done big things as part of AEW, and thanks to their allegiance to Chris Jericho's Inner Circle, are almost always in the main event picture, something we doubt would have happened in WWE. Over to WWE now, and while CM Punk gave his ideas for how the Rusev-Lana Lashley saga should end on this week's edition of Backstage, not everyone is a fan. During the show, Punk jested that the Bulgarian Brute and the Destroyer should wrestle at TLC, but in a loser keeps Lana match, with the ravishing Russian being suspended above the ring in a shark cage. Though many fans were entertained by Punk's idea, one person who didn't see the funny side was Lana herself, who took to Twitter to brand the comments misogynistic and asked Punk to try and move forward with the company after his many years away. This wasn't the only thing Punk had to say about WWE this week, as the Best in the World commented on the Roman Reigns dog food segment from SmackDown, as well as Seth Rollins' heel turn on the latest edition of Raw. Unfortunately, this appearance by Punk didn't help in the ratings, as the show brought in 127,000 viewers with their 11 p.m. Eastern time slot, down from last week's 138,000. There was also a fall in the 18 to 49 demographic, as this week's show brought in a 0.6 rating, which was also down from last week's 0.8. Out of the top 150 cable television shows, WWE Backstage ranked in at number 128. And while Punk may believe seeing Lana in a shark cage is the best way for this feud to end, the Russian will need some serious convincing. We're heading into the trenches for the Wednesday Night Wars now, as this week's edition of Dynamite saw Chris Jericho try to recruit Jon Moxley to the Inner Circle. After the former Ambrose had dispatched both Alex Reynolds and John Silver, Le Champion came out with his cohorts and said he'd been impressed with the Lunatics so far. Placing an Inner Circle shirt on Moxley's shoulder, Jericho promised that joining the group would be a true paradigm shift, before leaving the ring without coming to blows. In our first match of the night, the new tag team of The Blade and The Butcher impressed, as they picked up the win over Cody Rhodes and their hand-picked partner for him, QT Marshall. This is just the latest in a series of bad luck for Rhodes, who lost his Full Gear match to Chris Jericho and was turned on by MJF. But after this week's match, Darby Allin appeared to shake the former NWA champion's hand. It seems that Rhodes has at least one friend in AEW, but after what happened with MJF, it'll be interesting to see just how far he can trust Allin. Speaking of MJF, the cocky heel appeared with Wardlow in tow next, and despite Rhodes' incentives last week, was not in a fighting mood. After being promised money by Rhodes to fight, MJF confirmed that the pair will do battle, but only after calling the VP fake and mocking his lisp. Saying that the match will have special stipulations, MJF said those stips will be revealed on the first Dynamite of 2020, as it seems this feud is far from over. Women's division action next as Big Swole picked up a win over Emi Sakura, hitting her Dirty Dancing finisher to get the win. With Hikaru Shida watching at ringside, Swole made a big impression in the contest, and we can't help but suspect AEW Women's Champion Riho was watching as well. After an interview segment with Pac, it was time for tag team action, as Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page picked up the win over Kip Sabian and Shawn Spears. Interestingly, it was Page who got the win after hitting the buckshot lariat, but this only came as he made the blind tag on Omega, something the Cleaner may not be too happy with. A backstage video showed Brandy Rhodes hyping up a new client after insulting the entire women's division, and up next, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager joined Jim Ross on commentary for the next match. Seeing Sammy Guevara take on Luchasaurus, the match was a back-and-forth affair, but ultimately it was the prehistoric powerhouse who got the win, hitting the Extinction to get the win. This victory was short-lived, of course, as the Inner Circle instantly attacked Luchasaurus, but the numbers were equalized when Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt joined the fray. When Perry caught Le Champion with a Hurricane Rana pinfall, Stunt slid in to make the pin, and while Jericho may be right with his screams of "it doesn't count," it did give fans plenty to think about. In our main event, the Young Bucks picked up a big win over Proud and Powerful as they defeated Santana and Ortiz in a Texas street fight. Despite the interference of Sammy Guevara, the Bucks were able to get the win thanks to a couple of Meltzer drivers on chairs, and have earned themselves a shot at the AEW Tag Team Champions SCU on next week's show. While AEW Dynamite was a jam-packed show, the same can be said for NXT, as the show kicked off with a huge title change. After weeks of taking it to Lio Rush, Angel Garza has captured the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and the match saw both men take a page from the other's book. During the contest, Garza would drop Rush with the Man of the Hour's own come-up, though the then-champion would answer this with Garza's own wing clipper. After multiple pinfall attempts failed to get the job done, Garza would lock in the reverse full Nelson to force the submission, ending Rush's reign and becoming the first-ever Mexican NXT Cruiserweight Champion. After that explosive opener, it was time for Cameron Grimes and Raul Mendoza to follow suit, and it was Mendoza who got the win, getting some retribution for being attacked by the Technical Savage last week. Mendoza's victory wasn't all on his own though, as he got a big assist by Kushida, who distracted Grimes during the match, and after costing him the win, added insult to injury by taking Grimes' signature hat and trying it on for size. In a prelude to next month's Worlds Collide tournament, NXT's Jackson Ryker took on NXT UK's Travis Banks in a hard-hitting match from the start. Though the leader of the Forgotten Sons quickly overwhelmed Banks with his brute strength, the Kiwi Buzzsaw used his quickness advantage to battle back, cutting Ryker down to size. Hitting the slice of heaven before Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake had a chance to get involved, the New Zealander got the upset win on this occasion and gave some momentum to NXT UK. In the first one-on-one contest between the two, Mia Yim was unable to topple Dakota Kai, who was continuing her mean streak that boiled to the surface at War Games. A sign of this darker Kai came when she smashed Yim's face into the exposed turnbuckle after distracting the ref with the knee brace of Tegan Nox that she still carries. Though Yim came up short, that wasn't going to stop her getting revenge, as the head baddie in charge got her revenge by bringing Kai atop a platform and sending her crashing through a table below with a devastating back suplex. After Breezango picked up a win over the former 24/7 champions, the Singh brothers, and Bianca Belair got the win over Kaden Carter, it was time for the main event of the show, which saw Finn Balor, Keith Lee, and Tommaso Ciampa battle it out in triple threat action. A match with huge stakes, the winner would receive a shot at NXT champion Adam Cole on next week's edition of the Gold brand, giving all three plenty of incentive to do everything they could to win. At one point, Balor creatively turned a spirit bomb attempt by Lee into the coup de grace, while Ciampa evoked gasps from the Full Sail crowd with an unbelievable air raid crash on the Limitless Superstar, despite a 100+ pound difference. Never one to miss out on a chance to make the NXT Universe bask in his glory, Lee also wowed the audience with a massive second rope moonsault. After the smoke was cleared though, it was Balor who stood tall, dropping Lee with another coup de grace to steal the victory and a shot at the NXT champion. Balor's 2015 to 2016 reign with the title remains to be the longest title reign in NXT Championship history, and while the Prince would love to add another reign to his impressive career, that will be easier said than done next week when he battles the leader of the Undisputed Era. We've got some more news of the legal action against former WWE superstar Brodus Clay, who is being sued for sexual harassment, along with Fox News. According to Britt McHenry, the tabloid network, quote, publicly says it now has zero tolerance for sexual harassment. This is a dangerous lie. In practice, Fox News remains a sanctuary for sexual harassers, coddling and enabling the men who abuse female employees. McHenry has alleged that Clay, who has his own show on PC under his TNA name Tyrus, sent her pictures of his genitals and threatened to do the same if she spoke out against him. The former superstar's attorney has released a statement on the matter to The Wrap, saying, "As we have previously stated, Ms. McHenry's allegations have been fully investigated, and we are confident our actions will be deemed entirely appropriate in litigation. We expect all of her claims to be dismissed." This isn't the first time a member of Fox News has been accused of harassment, as the network's Bill O'Reilly left amid harassment claims years ago, and even their founder Roger Ailes stepped down due to similar claims from multiple sources back in 2016. We'll make sure to follow this story as it progresses, but for now it's obvious that Clay's attorney doesn't think that their client will be found guilty of any wrongdoing, despite McHenry's claims of having evidence. Back to WWE now, and this week marked the huge return of John Morrison, who has come back to the company after an 8-year absence. After the news was broken on WWE Backstage, Morrison made his first official WWE appearance in years on The Bump, where he spent a lot of time on the show. During one segment, the former ECW World Champion was even greeted by his old tag partner The Miz, who appeared via satellite and went down memory lane with the Shaman of Sexy. Older fans may remember Miz and Morrison's antics on their own web show The Dirt Sheet, and Miz commented on the hit series, saying that they would come up with material during the long drives. He said, "Those 4-hour drives suck, but when we were riding together doing The Dirt Sheet, those drives would fly by because we were laughing and coming up with stuff the whole time." During The Dirt Sheet, both Miz and Morrison weren't afraid to imitate whoever they were feuding with at the time, and when Morrison asked the A-lister if he remembers dressing up as Hardcore Holly, the answer was an emphatic yes. Miz said, "Oh, I remember. I told him I'm not doing it. I asked him, why don't you do it? He said, because you do it better. I'm like, I'm not doing it. So then after like 30 minutes of conning me into doing it, I do it, and literally I'm almost in a fight backstage because I did an imitation that was pretty good, to be honest." Morrison would go on to reveal that after the pair next showed up on Raw, Holly shoulder-checked The Miz in anger, saying, "I saw that episode of The Dirt Sheet. You think you're funny, huh?" While the stoic hardcore one may not have been amused, thousands of fans tuned into The Dirt Sheet each and every week, and with the two superstars back in the same company, a reunion show may be in the works if Vince McMahon allows it. And finally today, we're ending with some news about copyright, as WWE is always looking to own as much pro wrestling property as possible. This attitude has led to some conflict with AEW Vice President Cody Rhodes, who has tried to own anything connected with his late father, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, including hosting a January AEW show called Bash at the Beach, named after the famous WCW pay-per-view. Now, the PW Insider reports that WWE applied for a ton of new trademarks last week, many of which include WCW pay-per-view names such as Sold Out, Greed, and World War III. These weren't the only pay-per-view names WWE applied for, however, as they also sent one out for former WWF pay-per-view Fully Loaded, as well as old ECW names like Hardcore Heaven, Heatwave, and Living Dangerously. Though fans have speculated that this means these old shows are returning, it's much more likely that this has been done to stop the names from being taken by AEW or other promotions. In this list of applications, the company also filed a trademark for the Brock Lesnar catchphrase "Eat, Sleep, Conquer, Repeat," as McMahon is doing some conquering of his own, at least in the trademark department.